Chapter 49 of John Smith's Funny Adventures on a Crutch, or The Remarkable Peregrinations of a One-Legged Soldier After the War. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Read by Christine Rutger. John Smith's Funny Adventures on a Crutch, or The Remarkable Peregrinations of a One-Legged Soldier After the War, by A.F. Hill. Chapter 49, A Startling Bundle. Early one morning in August, after a sojourn of about 3 months in San Francisco, in the course of which I had been, on the whole, rather prosperous than otherwise, I was sitting in the office of the Golden City, when I suddenly, without knowing why, conceived the idea of returning to the States. The steamer Nevada of the opposition line was to leave for Panama on the ensuing Wednesday, and I walked down to the office of the company and bought a ticket, being just in time to secure the last stateroom. The astonishment and sadness of my numerous friends, for by this time there were 2 full semicircles of them in San Francisco, on learning of this rash act, were a source of mingled amusement and pain to me. I half regretted what I had done, and if I had not already purchased my ticket, I should have relinquished the idea of going. But the die was cast, and concealing from them the regret I felt, I lightly reminded them that they too well knew when I took a notion to go any place, I was moderately certain to go. Not till the steamer floated away from the pier, amid the cheers and blessings of several thousand spectators, and I saw the waving hands, hats, and handkerchiefs, and heard the friendly farewells of a score who had come to see me off, and of hundreds who had come to bid other passengers adieu, did I finally realize that I was leaving the city I had so soon learned to love, again starting on a long journey of more than 5,000 geographic miles. When I did realize it, it was with a depth of sadness I cannot describe. And had I not been a man, I think I should hardly have subdued that moisture of the eyes that is looked upon as an evidence of weakness, though it is sometimes a noble and heavenly weakness. The voyage to Panama, in the course of which we put in at Manzanillo, Mexico, for coal, occupied 14 days. Much space might be absorbed with a full description of it, but it would be scarcely pertinent. Let us close our eyes on the voyage. Imagine a lapse of 2 weeks, and we find the good steamer Nevada quietly anchored at early morn in the picturesque harbor of Panama, New Granada. There are no piers for the accommodation of large vessels at Panama, so that ocean steamers must anchor 3 miles from shore in the deep water and be relieved of their cargoes and passengers, or loaded therewith, by means of lighters and small steamboats. We rose from our berths on the morning the Nevada anchored in the harbor of Panama, elated with the prospect of crossing the isthmus and taking another steamer at Aspinwall for New York. It was, therefore, somewhat to our chagrin that we learned that an accident had happened to the connecting steamer Dakota, that although due at Aspinwall 5 or 6 days previously, she had barely arrived, and that we must lie at Panama and wait till she should have discharged her cargo. The prospective delay was variously estimated by the officers from a few days to some little time. The natives learned that we were to lie in the harbor for some days, and soon flocked about the steamer in small boats, offering to convey to shore all who wished to visit the rusty old city. The price they asked was $4 per head, which means $50. Many of us took advantage of this means of escaping from the confinement of the vessel, and in an hour or 2 the greater portion of the steamer Nevada's population might have been seen intermingled with the inhabitants of the benighted Panama. Prominent among those who visited the city might have been seen the owner of a certain crutch. It was now the rainy season, but the heat between the showers that visited us daily was intense and oppressive. To counteract its effects, the thirsty Caucasians resorted to certain iced drinks containing stimulants which were to be had at the saloons at 25 cents coin each. I regret to chronicle the fact that many of them used these beverages to an extent rather calculated to engender thirst next morning than to allay it. As the shades of evening began to fall over the tropics, 3 persons, Monsieur Figaro, a Frenchman, Monsieur Howes, an Englishman, and I, John Smith, Esquire, an Americo-Caucasian, wended their way down a street of Panama with an intention of taking a small boat at the beach and returning to the steamer Nevada. Now, at the lower end of this street, near the archway in the city's wall affording an outlet to the beach, there is a certain saloon with the alluring name of Oregonian Shades. The proprietor is an intelligent native about the color of new leather who speaks both Spanish and English. When we had come over to Panama that morning, there was in our crowd a humorous and witty passenger named Briggs, but in the course of the day we had lost sight of him, and I just glanced in at the Oregonian Shades as we passed, deeming it possible that he might be there, and hoping for the pleasure of his company, together with that of my French and English friends, to the steamer. Mr. Briggs was not there, but there was within a lady passenger of the Nevada, who was one of the most remarkable persons I ever met. This lady, whose husband was also a passenger, was about 28 years old, 5 foot 4 inches high, and weighed 210 pounds. Her width may be imagined. To add that she was inclined to embonpoint would be rather mild language. She was obviously of Irish birth and parentage, but whatever I may have occasion to say of her personal merits and demerits must not be construed into any invidious insinuations against her nationality, for I am not prejudiced against the Irish, but rather in their favor, claiming that, everything fairly considered, they possess as many noble traits as any other people. This corpulent lady was not, I regret to say, in a rational mood. She had visited Panama early in the day in the company of her husband, a big, ill-looking, muscular American, who had become intoxicated during the day and basely deserted her. His name was Philip somebody, and he was termed Feel by the lady in question, whose accent was very peculiar. When I have stated that Mrs. Feel, however temperate, was not of the total abstinence stripe, but rather given to moderate use of aqueous stimulus, and that she had not departed a hair's breadth from her principles on the day in question, I think that the intelligent reader would not fail to comprehend the true state of things. "Hombre," said I, addressing the proprietor of the Oregonian Shades, as I looked in, "have you seen the gentleman with side whiskers who was in here with us today, and whom we call Briggs?" "Not since 2 o'clock," replied Hombre. At this moment Mrs. Feel started up from her seat like one excited. "Have you seen Feel?" she eagerly asked. "I have not, madame," I replied. "Och, he's lift me!" she exclaimed, throwing herself back into her seat, and dropping 2 of 5 bundles of goods she had been buying. This was too much for me. My sympathies were aroused in a moment. I knew by Philip's complexion that he was a drinking man, and here was the patient and gentle wife anxiously awaiting his return to the Oregonian Shades. Can it be wondered that, meantime, hot weather, corpulence, anxiety, and general depression of spirits all taken into consideration, she had not sat there all that time dying of thirst, while the means of allaying it were before her? Not rationally. The proprietor afterward informed me that she had drank nothing but ale. How much he could not undertake to compute. "Probably," said I to the deserted woman as I stepped in and gently picked up her bundles for her, "Philip has taken a little too much and forgotten you. You had better return to the steamer." "Is he there?" asked my English companion at the door. "Who, Briggs?" "Yes." "No, he is not. But here is a lady whom you have seen on the steamer, and who has lost sight of her husband. Had she not better return with us?" "I suppose so." "Well, madame," said I, "we are going back to the steamer now. Will you come with us? Phil will be all right. No doubt he is there by this time." "Och, "Mr. Smith, you won't distart me, will you?" she exclaimed, letting 2 more bundles fall. Mr. Smith! She actually called me by my name. That she knew my name I was not aware. How she had learned it was a mystery to me, but it was more marvelous still that, having learned so strange and rare a name, she remembered it. "No, madame," said I, "you shall go with us to the ship. Come." And I gallantly picked up her 2 bundles and restored them to her fulsome arms. By this time, Monsieur Figaro was looking over Mr. House's shoulder at the door, and I fancied I saw him smile. It may have been imagination. "Come, madam," said I, "we are going down to hire a boat immediately. Will you go with us?" "Ach, inclined I will." She now rose, being very little taller standing than when sitting, dropping all her bundles but one. I picked up all but one. "Come, let us go." It was now fully dark. Somewhat to my chagrin, this charming and confiding creature grasped my gallant arm as a support, and we all started for the beach. With the care of 210 unsteady pounds on my arm, and I walking on a frail crutch, I confess that I experienced a difficulty in traveling to the beach which I did not acknowledge at the time. On the way to the boat, my voluptuous companion dropped all her bundles, one by one, and they were promptly picked up, taken care of, and carried after us by a little native with nothing but a hat on, whose attention and fidelity I generously rewarded with a silver $50 on arriving at the water's edge. I will not take it upon myself to say that Mrs. Field had drank too much, as I should not wish to do her the slightest injustice. It may have been the extreme heat of the climate. It may have been her obesity. It may have been that she was not blessed with a strong constitution. It may have been all or a part of these combined that governed her conduct, but certain it is that Mrs. Field acted strangely and unlike a lady at the beach. Some little delay was occasioned there by the fact that the native who engaged to take us up to the steamer had to go and hunt up his partner, and during the interval Mrs. Field not only talked strangely, walked strangely, and bore herself in an unaccountable manner, but actually became unreasonable, unmanageable, and even pugnacious. She first opened our eyes by declaring that we were going to rob her, and adding, "Bedad, I'll make Field put head on yez all." This was somewhat startling to me, and I had one head that suited me very well, and with my means of perambulating, I did not desire to be encumbered with another. "Madam," I remonstrated, "I pray that you will be quiet. We are your friends, and you are welcome to go with us to the steamer, I hope." "Where's my fan?" she interrupted, springing with some abruptness to a new theme of conversation. "I do not know. Have you lost one?" "Bedad, someone stole it," she vociferated. By this time a dozen natives had collected on the beach and were viewing the female Caucasian with mingled wonder and amusement. Mr. Hawes was sitting on an old spar at this time, calmly fanning himself with a palm leaf fan he had carried all day. The object at this unfortunate moment caught the eye of Mrs. Field. "Ye blackguard, ye!" she fairly screamed, staggering clumsily toward the startled Englishman. "Ye hove my fan. Bad luck to ye, ye devil. Give me that." Without waiting for a word of remonstrance from Mr. Hawes, she dealt him a blow on the cheekbone that sent him backward over the spar with his feet elevated in the night air, and at the same time staggered herself, whirled round, and fell prostrate on the rough stones and sand of the beach. She was actually crazy. She screamed, struggled convulsively, swore a few regular brimstone oaths, then lay a little while apparently insensible and gasping as though she were in a retort and the air had suddenly been pumped away. By this time quite a concourse of curious natives had collected around us. After an apparent death struggle of 3/4 of a minute, she actually ceased to breathe, and I feared she was dead. I took her ample wrist in my hand, and there was not the slightest perceptible pulsation. Here was a go. Here was a fix for John Smith. Night. Foreign country. A dead woman on the beach. only 2 of my race present, and they scared like the deuce, surrounded by a score or 2 of the swarthy, bloodthirsty natives of a semi-barbarous land. Oh, how I wished that crutch of mine were but clicking on the sidewalk in front of Trinity Church, New York, or the State House, Philadelphia. But no, there I was, and the gloom of night, mingled with the black faces of vicious and cowardly ruffians, frowned on me. Oh, Smith, Smith! What was to be done? What could be done? Fortunately, the boat was soon after ready, and I thought the best thing we could do would be to have the body put aboard and take it along. My companions concurred, but how should we get it into the boat? The quickest way was to hire the natives, so I spoke to them. In my extremity I remembered that but a small proportion of those present could speak English, so I endeavored to address them with a mixture of both English and Spanish. As nearly as I can recollect, I thus spoke to any and all of them, individually and collectively. "Hombre, señor, carry this hero fat womano into boato for cuarto realos. Do you mind?" It appeared they comprehended me, for 8 of them, in view of a $50 each, laid hold of the form, and proceeded to carry it into the boat. It was indeed a clumsy burden, yet they conveyed it to the boat on scientific principles. The following was the program any anatomist will readily comprehend. 2 of the hombres supported their share of the weight by locking hands beneath the gluteus maximi. 2 others, in like manner, supported the clavicles, corticoid process, and acromion of scapula, the humeri, ulna radius, etc., besides the sternum and latissimus dorsi. 2 others supported the tibia fibula gastrocnemius, tibialis anticus, and extensor communis digitorum. The 7th supported the base of tibia astragalus peroneus tertius, abductor minimi digiti, and extensor pollicis proprius, while the 8th took charge of the occipito frontalis temporalis, os frontis, parietal, and orbicularis palpebrarum. Thus they conveyed the inanimate form to the small boat, but they were just on the point of dumping it in, when it returned to consciousness, opened its eyes and mouth, breathed, and was once more Mrs. Field. "Murther!" was the first articulate sound of the resuscitated. "Hush, my good woman," I implored. "You are all right now. We are starting for the steamer." Thereupon she opened her mouth and uttered a series of screams that made the night hateful, and causes me to shudder yet when I think of them. The substance of them was, "Murther! Murther! Murther! Robbery! Robbery! Help! Police! Watch! Watch! Police! Murther! Murther! Watch! Help! 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 Murther! 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 Police! 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 Oh, ye bloody devils! Murther! Murther! Murther!" This, however, is but an abridged edition of the original. For 5 minutes, every one seeming like an age, she continued to scream in this manner, making the old walls of Panama to resound as with the voices of all the fiends. Had this happened at the piers of any civilized town or city, the gendarmes would soon have been down upon us and arrested the whole party. But as it was, we were not molested, and much to our relief at last succeeded in getting clear of shore, and we glided away toward the steamer in the dim darkness with our baleful charge. End of chapter 49.